Say something.
What? Fucked it. Jesus business.
The waveform's pretty small, but I'm assuming we need to downgrade it.
Well, that's just because you're loud as fuck. And it still clips when you shout.
Nice.
Just give me a little bit more because you're a loud bastard, aren't you, mate? A little bit of a loud bastard, aren't you, mate? You know what I mean?
The two of us.
Oh, the two of us.
What do you want this for?
Give me that cheeky chins. What's up, everybody? I'm Dave.
And I'm Michael.
And we are Downgrade Arcade at the movies. Downgrade at the movies, mate.
Down movies.
Down movies, mate. Movies arcade, mate. Yes, mate. And we've been watching some movies.
We have.
Haven't we, mate? We are literally surrounded with movies right now.
Right now, I can spy probably more than I can count on my little piggy fingers, mate.
Absolutely. At least four movies. And you cannot count that on a regular non-mutant hand, mate. Especially if you're a alien in your hands like that, mate. Like Mr. Spack.
Like that, because he's got more fingers.
Then you can shake a face
Yeah,
like
he's
that,
got
mate.
one extra finger, but like four of them are attached to each other that makes them useless for grabbing.
What's up, everybody?
So what have we been watching recently, mate?
Well, you'll tell me, mate. What have we been watching recently?
Well, that boy Dave S. Walker to my right here, he has introduced me to the Alien franchise.
Yes, mate. We had a big night in, didn't we?
We did. We watched the trilogy to start with. We watched Alien, Aliens, and Alien 3
Alien
all in
Cubed,
one
mate.
night. Cubed. All in one night. I had never seen Alien before.
No, none
at
of them.
all. I've
Ever.
managed to avoid it. I'd also managed to avoid a lot of major story spoilers.
Yes, like you did with Psycho.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to get to that at some point.
I've managed to become a 24-year-old male without having a lot of these things spoiled for me, which is really, really nice. And the look on his face when he sees the look on my face when certain things happen is priceless.
It literally fucking saves me having a kid. It's amazing. I don't have to show my kid these movies and him or her having resent me at school the next day. My dad made me watch a shitty old film. I can just do it with him. Sit down, here's some popcorn, here's some onion rings with your little cheese and chive dip, mate. Shut up and watch a movie. And he does. He shuts up and watches it. He's good as gold.
Aww, thanks,
Mrs.
mate.
Cornell, he's good as gold. Absolutely lovely. Definitely get him a Switch even though he doesn't need one for his birthday. Okay, mate. So, obviously, I grew up with all this mess.
Absolutely.
And you didn't.
I did not.
So, in 3 words or less, 3,000 words or less, tell me what you thought of the franchise as a whole.
Well, I'll tell you one thing for sure. It's 4 different genres. That's 3 words right there.
Yeah.
You, like, for me, I suppose I've grown up with these cinematic universes as we see them today.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of been since
Which is what this is trying to be now.
Well, yeah, that's what Ridley Scott's trying to turn it into. But the original quadrilogy is by no means a cohesive thing, despite the fact that they run chronologically pretty much back to back. At least from the perspective of Ripley. This is 4 completely different movies from 4 completely contrasting, really, genres, and a main character who plays 4 different people. You know, with
I'm a trucker, I'm a mum, I'm a prisoner, I'm a hooker.
I'm a psychopath, apparently.
Yes, mate.
Completely insane. She went from being quite a respectable little low-down military lady who was just trying to do the right thing to apparently I'm in love with this weird alien thing that raped me or whatever, and then giving birth and having these aliens. It's just a whole thing. It's a whole thing. I did enjoy it. I think my favourite one of them was probably...
Here we go, moment of truth.
Well, I think, in all honesty, it's probably a cross-up between Aliens and Alien 3.
Yeah.
Because I think they're both very good, but for very different reasons. I've actually watched Alien twice now. Because I watched it once with you in glorious Laserdisc 480p, and then I went home, and to refresh for this video, I watched the Blu-ray. And the Blu-ray's a lot scarier.
Yeah.
I did find. Because it really is quite beautiful.
Yeah.
But I didn't really rate Alien that much. And I think that speaks worlds of Ridley Scott. Who loves to just do bad jobs at his own franchises.
Yeah.
So,
98% of his movies you can kind of just go, And then 100% of his director's cuts, you can just kind of go,
Well, yeah, you just look at it, and then when you look at the quadrilogy as a whole, it's like, great concept, Ridley. Just fucking step aside. Let the big boys have a go.
Yes, mate. It's like, oh god, I'm hosting a Hollywood director's party. Ridley Scott's here. He's had a few bevies. mate, call the police. Why? James Cameron's here and he's had a few bevies. Oh Christ, what the fuck?
Oh no.
Oh no, David Finch is here. Nobody fucking mentioned the Alien franchise. Oh god, Jean-Pierre Jeanette's here who doesn't speak English, but he's fucking mad about something and Ridley's gonna knock him the fuck out.
Yeah. James Cameron's come along, he's brought his perfect nuclear family.
Absolutely. His wife's a Terminator sent back to kill him and his kid from the future.
Absolutely.
And his kid's an alien, mate. Yeah,
it's got to be said, because obviously James Cameron, for all he's worth, he's got a proper classic Hollywood idealism in his movies, where it's like, you know, boy meets girl, they fall in love, they have nice children, they go off living in Idaho somewhere. And the best moment of all 4 movies for me is the start of Alien 3, when they just take James Cameron's ideals and they just fucking chuck them down the stairs, put it out the back with the rest of the dog trash. You know, it's like, oh, did you like Aliens? Oh, was it nice? Did you? Oh, well, they're all dead, all of them. And Sigourney Weaver's real fucked up now. Sorry.
Just in case you don't believe me, here's Hicks with his head smashed in and his teeth all over the place. Like, Jesus Christ.
And that's the other thing as well, because we've seen bits and pieces of 2 different cuts of Alien 3.
Yes.
The one that we watched was the Blu-ray. Was that which one did we watch? The director's cut.
We watched
first.
the Blu-ray assembly cut, mate. Don't say director's cut, otherwise Fincher will be for that Scarlet.
Fincher absolutely not having it at all. We watched the Blu-ray assembly cut first, and that is really quite graphic in the start about, you know, these guys is dead. Like, Fincher really hated these guys. They're dead and buried. In the theatrical cut, they're a little bit, they tiptoe around it a little bit. And they're like, they do say like dead. But, you know, it's like, it could be Hollywood dead. It's like, could return in Resurrection. but Fincher's like, no.
Or in, what was it was Aliens Colonial Marines, which is classed as canon because Fox just weren't looking. And then there's literally, I shit you not, you have to look it up on YouTube. Like, there's a clip that explains that it wasn't Hicks in the cryo tube.
Okay.
And as like the end of the game, the final cutscene is him getting woken up from cryo sleep with another Marine, and this other Marine that is completely unnamed. I think you actually play as him. So you're in the cryo chamber.
Yeah.
And you slip on something, and you fall into Hicks's cryo chamber, and it seals you in, and the pod gets ejected with Ripley in it. And it's like, is this a Three Stooges sketch? Or did you literally just say Hicks didn't die at the start of Alien 3? I'm sorry, Gearbox, but throwing your toys out the pram because of Alien Cube. Simultaneously, whilst saying that Fight Club is the best book adaptation ever, also directed by David Fincher, and that Seven is a modern noir masterpiece. Go fuck yourselves.
Yeah, this whole franchise is just a bunch of people who just don't agree on where it needs to go.
No.
And every time it changes hands, it's like a relay race. It's like a relay race where no one knows where the next guy is, and they just grab the baton and they just fuck off in one direction or the other.
That's the other team's baton. I don't care. David Fincher, come back.
I can't, I'm in so deep.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But overall, I would say thoroughly enjoyable. Absolutely. I'm glad that I've seen it now. It was a big gap in my film knowledge that I've filled.
Yes.
The one thing I will say, having been 24 years old, and I used to be, I'm not so much anymore. Did used to be very against watching, you know, horror movies in the traditional sense. Wasn't a big fan of Blood and Guts. I found it also to be gratuitous, so wasn't interested. I built these films up, particularly Alien, in my head so much as this really terrifying thing that I was like genuinely almost scared to watch when I was younger. And then to actually sit and watch it, it's just like, oh,
okay. Yeah.
Fine. And that for me was a little bit underwhelming, but I think that's probably my own hang-ups rather than actually the quality of the movie. Because the way that Ridley does build suspense in Alien is brilliant.
Yes.
The scene with what's his face, the fucking trash bag of a man, one of the engineers or whatever he is, when he's looking for the cat.
Oh, Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah, absolutely. There are like 7 occasions where he just turns around and you think he's going to get done in and he doesn't. So that when he actually does, you're like, oh, fuck, okay, well, he actually got that time. But equally, there are a few times in the movie, and I can't actually remember what they are right now, where that totally falls flat. And he overplayed it, he overstepped a little bit.
My perspective of the Quadrillogy changes every time I watch them more back to back. We didn't watch Resurrection back to back. We did that.
We did leave it.
recently.
We only left it like a week though.
But that's good because there's 300 years between that and Alien Cubed. So that's fine, that kind of makes sense proportionally. And my perspective of them changes each time. Every time I watch it, I dislike the first one just a little bit more every time. I get a little bit more bored of Aliens.
Yeah.
I always opt for the fucking special edition director's cut, which I always regret every time. Because it's like, it gets like 10 minutes of the movie, and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, it's this one. Right, okay. Alien 3 gets a little bit more, I don't want to say tedious, but it just feels a bit more like it's dragging each time.
Yeah.
I always insist on watching the assembly cut, that's why. And Alien Resurrection, for me this time, it's the first time in 15 years I've seen it again. Completely changed my opinion about that.
Yeah. I think probably watching it with somebody who's never watched it before as well.
Yeah.
Because you watch it, you hear it, you say the word Alien Resurrection, and half the world goes, ooh, recoils in horror. You know what I mean? I went into it with no expectations whatsoever, and with the exception of the last 25 minutes, which can absolutely go to fucking hell and can just bin itself off 100%.
Yeah.
It was a thoroughly enjoyable movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was a lot going on. There was a lot of action. Like, well, you explained it to me as it's basically Firefly.
Well, it's written by Joss Whedon.
It's it's Joss Whedon. It's basically pirates, space pirates.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I found all the characters to be pretty likable. I was vaguely surprised when What's-Her-Face turned out to be a robot. Spoilers. And it kept me engaged right up until that weird alien baby shows up at the end.
That's the universal point of conjecture for everyone.
Yeah.
Is that, well, we don't need that.
No, there was no need.
No
need at all. They could have done a cut and paste of Aliens.
Yeah.
With the mother, with the Queen.
Yeah.
I would have been perfectly happy with that.
Yeah.
Perfectly happy. And they just had to just tiptoe over that line, didn't
just
they?
go over the top with.
And I think it's every director or every writer that comes at it just wants to put a big fat stamp with their name on it, right on it.
Yeah.
And they know that they'll easily just fall into the history books if they don't just fucking bam. I did that to the franchise.
Yeah. So I guess we should go through them in detail in order. So this is going to be a long one.
Yeah.
But this is, it's one of the biggest franchises in cinema history. Right behind Piranha
3 Double D.
Piranha 3 Double D, mate. Yeah. So we'll start with Alien, 1979.
Yeah,
I believe. This is kind of the point where horror is starting to get taken seriously. So, I mentioned the Romero era in the 60s.
Yeah.
Where you have got Attack of the Giant Leeches and 50-Foot Woman and The Beast with a Thousand Eyes and all these fucking just really dragged out, trashy drive-in movie experiences. And in the mid to late 70s, you've got stuff like Halloween appearing, you've got Carrie, you've got Jaws, you've got fucking finally actual big concept horror stuff appearing in the cinema. It's actually scary. It's taking it in new directions. It's like people are crazy, the monster inside, all this stuff. And Jaws especially, it's like, it's the birth of the blockbuster. People say 1975. I think it's 75. Yes, it is. And it's, the first time that a horror movie was given the same push that a big budget blockbuster was given.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it makes sense. Well, in a lot of ways, I feel that Alien is a product of that and is a sum of those parts, but is not better than. Like, I don't think the horror elements are as good as Halloween. Have you seen Halloween? Or?
I've not.
We're going to add that to the list. I don't think the horror elements are as good as Halloween. I don't think the scares, the frights, the suspense are as good as Jaws. And I don't think it has, as interesting characters as what was coming out at the time. But I do think, in terms of, because science fiction crossover is quite commonplace now. You've got science fiction sports movies, science fiction sports body movies, science fiction horror. You've got everything you can think of.
Yeah, put it in space.
Has been put on a spaceship. Fucking Jason X, the 10th fucking Friday the 13th movie, where they bring him back as a cyborg. Yeah. With half the cast of Andromeda. Yeah. And the origins of it, you'll like this. So, it comes from a student film. Not Ridley Scott's student film.
Do love a student film.
Student film, mate. So, very, very skilled writer Dan O'Bannon, who wrote this and wrote one of my top 5, well, probably top 10 actually, movies, Return of the Living Dead, which is zombie comedy.
Zombie, mate.
Zombie. It's, yeah. And he wrote a film in film school, and his friend, John Carpenter, who I know the name of, said, okay, I'll make a movie of that. And that was called Dark Star. and it is literally Alien if it was a comedy and you replace the alien with a giant orange inflatable beach ball. Now, you're trying to imagine what they could be doing with that, but no, it's literally a giant orange inflatable beach ball that just bounces off people and kills them. It's a beach ball. Like, literally, yeah. And Dan O'Bannon was playing it straight, but obviously, and then he rewrote it and said, well, what if it was serious? And that's what this is. So we kind of, in many ways, owe Alien to John Carpenter, which ties into my theory that all films are either a remake of Frankenstein or thanks to John Carpenter.
That's a fair 51st Dates.
Remake of Bride of Frankenstein.
Oh, right, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. For me, what really stood out, talking about the era that it comes out of, is actually the technical side of things in Alien.
Yeah.
I think you would not know to look at it that it was made in 77.
Especially not on Blu-ray.
No, 100%. 100%. Watching it on Blu-ray, honestly, that could have been made in the 90s.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know. And that's because there's no gratuitous use of CGI. And there's no...
It's the puppet, not CGI.
Yes, mate, but it's a green screen puppet and it looks trash. Don't try and defend it. It really does look beautiful. The set design is amazing. The creature design, obviously, is absolutely on point.
Absolutely.
Genuinely terrifying.
Have you seen the test footage?
No.
Worth checking out is the early test footage of the guy in the alien costume. He's like 7'8" basketball player, I think, who died like a few years after because he was so fucking tall.
Just too big to survive.
Yeah. Literally,
yeah, it does happen.
And it's just test footage of him walking around in the costume really slow with his arms out, like Frankenstein style. And there's no sound or anything on it. They weren't recording sound, and it's creepy as shit.
Well, it's H.R. Geiger, isn't it?
Yes.
Did the creature design.
Yeah.
And he's obviously a master of his craft.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, I think they really work within their means to create it. I think like I said, the scope of the ship, you really feel like the Nostromo is this is a real spaceship.
Yeah.
You know, it proper leans into it.
Yeah.
And I find, a lot of old sci-fi, even if you look at Star Wars, dated, really dated.
Yeah.
Alien, I think, has aged very well.
Yes, yeah, it has. Yeah.
I think it plays today on a technical level more than it does narratively.
Yes.
I feel like it doesn't stand up. If you played this to an audience of kids today, they probably wouldn't be scared.
No.
Because of what's come since.
Well, I don't know. If you got them at the age that I was watching it, because remember, I must have seen this when I was 6. So for me, it's already a 15-year-old movie. It's already dated. But I hadn't been, because we were watching stuff on black and white TVs. We used to borrow the VCR off my nan. We were fucking poor, mate. It hooked me. It was one of my favourite things as a kid. I saw Aliens first, then Alien. But that break-in allowed me to sort of ease into what to expect, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think if you come at it fresh, then it does still hold up completely.
Yeah.
And my mum tells me stories about when she first saw it as a student. And it was one of the first films presented in quadraphonic sound, mate.
Is that like old school for surround sound?
4 speakers instead of 5, yeah. I think Pink Floyd did an album that was in quadraphonic as well because they're fucking twats. But yeah, so it was one of the first films that kind of experimented with this idea of fear as a sensation more than just exploitation of what you see on the screen. When the ship first comes over at the start, in the cinema it would come over from the back.
Yeah.
And this was, at the time, it would have been really crude. But obviously you've never seen it before, you're not saturated with it.
Absolutely, when you're sat in a cinema, you don't expect noises to come from behind you.
So my mum recalls that she was just like, fucking Jesus, what? Yeah. So I've got all that kind of history behind that film, I guess. Story-wise, in terms of twists and all that business, how do you feel about it? Because obviously there is a twist in there that feels a little bit thrown away, a bit of a throwaway twist to me, but that's...
To be honest, mate, I'm struggling to remember.
Ash is a goddamn robot.
Oh, yeah, of course he is. Yeah, I think Bishop did a better job.
I think Bishop helps out the first film.
Yeah, retrospectively.
It makes it feel just a standard part of the universe. Whereas it's like in the first one, there's robots? Okay.
Yeah, it feels a little bit cheap.
Yeah.
It's like, how do we get a bit of a mutiny going on in here when there's a big alien? You've got to have somebody who's not really afraid of getting ripped up by the alien. Oh, it's got to be a robot, there we go.
But did you find when you went back and watched it again, knowing that twist, like when they're all sat at the dinner table eating, and Ian Holm does an incredible job at doing this, but like the camera will do a Janderson pan, around the table of what everyone's doing. And then there'll be a cutaway to John Hurt eating. And then it'll carry on with the pan. Everyone's having a good time, everyone's laughing. But John Hurt's Ian Holm's just watching him like that. Just watching him.
Yeah, he's got a definitely kind of an eerie disconnect in his character that comes across earlier than the reveal, for sure. I can't say I didn't notice that he wasn't eating, but that is a big, I suppose that's a big giveaway. You'd think they'd notice.
Yeah. But no, apparently not. It does feel, though, like one of those threads that James Cameron sort of has to tie into it.
Yeah.
It feels like he's
cleaning up the
polishing some shit off the Alien poster that was Ridley Scott's, you know what I mean? It feels
polishing
like
that name off.
Yeah.
And the tip packs out.
And so, and it's another case of the sequel sort of retroactively touching up the original. Did you see Director's Cut on Blu-ray?
I think we watched the theatrical cut because I looked it up before putting the Blu-ray in. And it said, don't. Don't bother.
No, I think there's a few extra scenes in there, like that then contradict future alien lore, which is that the alien can self-reproduce or something like that, and it just kind of covers people in acid like a fly, and then uses that as biomatter or something.
Okay.
To like make more aliens.
Interesting.
And then there's Harry Dean Stanton when he goes off by himself. The reveal is completely different. Like you see it behind him.
Okay.
Like just kind of lowering down from the ceiling, almost on a winch, and it looks fucking awful.
Yeah, it's just not what you want.
Yeah.
I think as with a lot of horror stuff, the less you see, the better.
Yeah.
Like what is really nice about the way that suspense is built in Alien is that you don't really know what this thing looks like until right at the end when he's laying on his side and you kind of get a full view of him.
You get the full size. You don't ever see it fully in shot. Which is the way to go.
100%. Jaws, mate.
Exactly, Jaws. Yeah, before that, it had been done completely differently. Like literally show everything you can at once, and then that's your scare factor. Although I would say Frankenstein still did it best, where with the tools they had available, where they couldn't. The cameras are obviously just fucking big, so they couldn't dance about with it. And when he's first revealed, he comes backwards through a door. He walks backwards and then turns around. It's a nice touch. So
it's interesting, isn't
even
it?
back then they were thinking about this stuff. Yeah. I've got to obviously mention the score a bit. I'm not asked. It is nice.
Thoroughly unmemorable.
No. I do love Jerry Goldsmith's work. I think his best is probably Star Trek First Contact. Very lovely, and Planet of the Apes, that's a mental soundtrack. But this one, this is going to be a recurring theme for these next two films, mate. Ridley Scott didn't like Jerry Goldsmith's original score.
Beautiful.
So he said, just rewrite it. Okay, well, it comes out in a few weeks. So just rewrite it. So he rewrote something that was way more... On the Blu-ray, actually, you can hear both isolated scores. It comes with isolated score tracks. So you can just watch the films of music. It comes with his original idea, and it comes with what Ridley Scott mashed together out of his ideas and some other old films that were owned by Fox.
Brilliant. So it's a Dawn of the Dead kind of thing all over again.
It's a hodgepodge mess, but you hear those themes come back in Prometheus and Covenant again, which is quite a nice touch. But it just doesn't ring home for me, sadly.
Yeah, I resent this thing that directors do, where they just think if they've not got exactly what they want, they're better off having just a random bit of higgledy-piggledy trash than the full cohesive idea of someone else.
Yes, I am.
It's an ego thing.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with directors who just don't reply when they get given the score, and then the film comes out, and you're like, okay, and then you watch it, and 30% of it is yours. So you're not getting paid. And then 70% is just God knows whatever else they've found online. It's like, well, I guess that's how Jerry Goldsmith felt. Fine.
Not a lot of consolation.
Fine, I guess. Great. Closing thoughts, I guess.
Yeah, I think...
I asked you to give it, like, however many facehuggers out of 20 the first time you watched it. Now you're giving it a... What was your first... I
think initially I said 16, didn't I?
Yeah.
16 facehuggers out of 20. I think but it depends. Is this a scale of all movies, or is this a scale of
As a standalone film, we might as well do them as fucking standalone films.
As a standalone film, I think now I'd probably put it more on the kind of 14-y end of 20.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah,
I think, because having seen what was accomplished with the rest of the franchise, I think it does sit above Resurrection for me, but not
as a
others.
quality movie.
Yeah.
Resurrection we'll get onto, but I think that's got its own appeals and charms. Closing statements from me. Like I said at the start, I like it just a tiny bit less each time, and I'm one of those very honest people. I get into so many arguments about which is the best Alien film. I'm one of those drastically honest people that says it's not as good as Aliens. It's not the best in the series. Ridley Scott is definitely up his own arse, and he struck gold with Alien, Blade Runner, Black Rain. I think it was Black Rain. Was that tone? No, Black Rain. And Gladiator.
Yeah.
But Gladiator could have done with 20 minutes chopping out. But I think with those were his best works, and I think, with how he's shitting on his franchise these days, because one of the biggest things in it was, what the fuck is that thing in the giant chair pointing a gun at the sky? And when they land on that planet and you see that crashed ship that's a weird fucking shape, it immediately has a feeling to it. You know, for me, it's like...
it's one of the big unanswered questions of the whole thing. Is because I'm right in thinking that in this universe, there aren't any aliens.
What do you mean?
Like, it's humans. As far as the humans are concerned, it's all humans. There aren't other alien species that exist until they find this thing, which is why it's such a big deal for everyone. It's not like, oh, it's just another aliens trying to kill us, whatever. It's like, shit, there is aliens. But they also, on that same day, they found the wreckage of a spaceship that had fuck all to do with these xenomorphs.
So they find two species
in
one thing, and one of them becomes a story focus, the other one doesn't. And for me, that is how you do world building. Lord of the Rings very successfully does it in that it mentions things, they pass things by, but they don't explain it. So your imagination wanders off on a tangent.
Yeah, exactly.
Conan the Barbarian does it. I know that's one of my favourite films of all time. It has its faults, but you know, there's a scene where he falls into an ancient tomb and there's a load of skeletons there. One of them's got a crown on, obviously a king of some kind. They never explain what that is, but that's world building.
Yeah.
That is how you do it. An Alien
gives
did that.
texture to it.
Yeah, just background texture, but obviously forums were going mental on this. Like, well, what is that thing in the chair? What is the purpose of that ship? Why are there loads of eggs there? It's obviously a different species. He got killed by them too. So what the fuck is it? And now we know where they come from, or you will do, unfortunately.
What, from Prometheus or Covenant?
Both. It's the tedious kind of Lost Season 4 onwards approach of just very slowly plucking beard hairs one by one and saying, oh, answer's gonna come in a minute, mate. It's like, no,
don't really
please,
want to know.
No.
Well, I suppose in terms of world building as well, you've got this whole Weyland-Yutani thing as well.
They're not in the first one.
Oh, are they not?
They're referred to as the company.
Okay.
This is another thing that James Cameron put a bow around, which is accepted as canon. But in the original, it's just the company. So it could have been a government, could have been pretty much anything.
Yeah.
But it's basically the same people that sent the android.
Yeah. But even still, you never really, or at least in the quadrilogy, find out that much about Weyland-Yutani or the company. They're just there. They're overarching. They exist. They're a bit of a by and large. You know what I mean? And that they obviously play a massive part in this universe. And there's little nibbles of what they're doing to the people everywhere, but you never really find out.
No.
And that's interesting in terms of world building as well. But that seems like a good segue, mate, to move on to Aliens then, if we're going to talk about Weyland-Yutani.
Yes, mate. Reset button time. 50 years later, mate.
50 years later.
Where we at? Oh yeah, it's a goddamn town meeting or something, mate.
Oh look, it's John Connor out of Terminator.
Oh my god, John Carpenter.
The biggest action hero that never took off.
Yes, mate.
even though he was into one of the biggest franchises of the late 70s and early 80s.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to be able to act.
Don't know his name.
Michael Biehn.
Yes, mate. Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean, yeah. So, Aliens, mate. Give me your first impressions on it. This was the one that I grew up with, so this is the one that I've been with.
Yeah, I can see. It's kind of conversely child-friendly and not child friendly at the same time.
In the same way Terminator 2
In the same
is.
way Terminator 2 is, because it's like, oh, big action heroes, big guns, oh, we're never going to make it out of this alive, but you absolutely know that they will make it out alive at the end, because it's a James Cameron movie, you know what I mean? And that, for me, is thoroughly enjoyable. I make no apologies for liking a happy ending. I love just big characters and action heroes that say big catchphrases, and I love it when the guy gets the girl and all that. So for me, it was a thoroughly enjoyable movie. But at the same time, they're not really trying anything new in Aliens. I don't think. Even for when it was made, which one was it? Would have been early 80s. 86. Yeah. They're not really pushing the boundaries of storytelling. They're like, you know, white man takes on the world, or in this case, a big black alien.
Big black alien.
Big black alien. So thoroughly enjoyable, but I would say relatively pedestrian. At the same time.
For me, it's one of those ones that, again, I start to dislike more and more every time. But when I watched the director's cut, the theatrical cut, I remember exactly why I fell in love with it as a kid. I mean, as far as action movies go, I think it is one of the best at doing the crossover thing, like action sci-fi. And it does carry a lot of the tension and suspense flavors from Alien, and it does it a little bit better, in my opinion. The stuff in the dark corridors when they first get to the colony, all beautifully done. The set dressing is immaculate. In a director's cut, they introduced the colony ahead of time that they would have done in the theatrical cut, and you like see the facehugger getting brought back and all this stuff, and you see that Captain Hollister dude from Red Dwarf talking about stuff, and then you see the introduction of the Weyland-Yutani branding, and it's all very much on the nose. But in the theatrical cut, which we haven't, well, you haven't seen, they just turn up to this place and it's a ghost town already, sort of thing. And that, it's a lot creepier that way. Of course, because you know, in the director's cut, the version that I've seen, you know exactly what's happening. From the get-go. And you
they're
know
like,
those people there already.
Ridley shows up and they're like, oh, we're on this planet. And she's like, isn't that the one planet I said not to go to? And then it's like, oh, well, we better go down there and see what's going on. And I was like, well, what is going on?
What is going on?
I wonder, maybe there's aliens.
But he does shake it up quite a bit, all the way through. Every time Bishop just turns around and looks at someone, you were like, fucking turn him off now. Fuck that guy. Turn him off. He's going to turn on you. 100%.
Absolutely. I was fully rooting against Bishop until obviously the point where you're no longer rooting against Bishop. You know, I was right there behind Cameron going, no, he's a bad man. He's going to do a bad thing. And then it turned out it was totally chill.
Absolutely. And credit to Lance Henriksen for his performance. Originally, they were going to give him some special effects prosthetics, which is one of the moments when he turns around and it's quite a close-up on his face. They were going to give him a second set of eyelids for when he's looking through the microscope at the facehugger and he's doing a test on it. He turns around and then he opens his eyes and then there's another set of eyelids, but they were like, you know what, Lance, you fucking look creepy enough as it is, mate. I think
you're doing a good enough job. We're getting the message. But it turned out that the other guy was the bad guy.
Yes, mate, Burke. The dweeb.
The Burke.
Never trust
Is that
him.
why people call people Burks, mate?
No, mate.
How good would that be?
Tell you what, though, mate. Never trust a man in a gilet. You know what I'm saying?
Never once will I trust him. Oh, you're not going to believe this.
In terms of characters, I think, you know, Ripley's there, but I don't think she's a particularly interesting character in it until Newt turns up. In the same way that Sarah Connor isn't a particularly interesting character until she's either pregnant or has a child, sort of thing. So we're going back to James Cameron's idea of
women having one job.
No, women in the family unit sort of thing, because it's never, with him, it's never a normal sort of family setup, even like in True Lies or something, where it's Arnie and Jamie Lee Curtis, who have Eliza Dushku as a daughter. That's a fucking all-star family, that is. And he's a secret agent in another life, and then she goes off and lives a different kind of life. And there's kind of like this weird pole dancing scene where he's pretending to be someone else and she can't see him and stuff like this. So he's got this whole fucked up idea of a family unit. And in this one, it's Ripley who's lost their daughter because she was in hypersleep 50 years, with a soldier as the husband and some abandoned child as the kid, like almost a feral child. It's quite yeah. And he's good at doing that. He's good at taking that idea and just like
yeah.
So yeah,
but he always finds a way to bring these things back to the kind of the core central.
Yeah.
We're a family now.
Yeah.
Even in this kind of weird, messed up environment.
And we should probably mention the Alien Queen appearance.
Yeah, that is pretty big and scary.
Because
to be honest,
again in the first film, there's the idea it's the perfect organism, and Ridley Scott really wanted it to be something that self-reproduced. Like kimono dragon.
Yeah, once there's one face hugger.
Kimono. Which one's the dressing gown?
Kimono.
So Komodo dragons that can self-reproduce. But in Aliens, it's he makes it like an insect hive, which is way fucking cooler, way more interesting. And he adds this queen thing, which has since been in every incarnation of the film after this. Always with that queen with the big crown hood thing she's got going on, and that just makes it a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, it was the 80s, and they managed to somehow throw a boss fight into an Alien film, which is essentially what that is.
Yeah.
And that is, I like that idea. I think that's cool as fuck.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got to mention score again. Very proud. I say fucking proud. I do own the vinyl score.
You do own it though.
Which I brought back from America, and this is one of my flooded vinyls, mate. So if anybody would like any life advice ever whatsoever now, do not knock your tapes over of your favourite films. And
don't keep your vinyls on a low shelf.
In a basement in New York. Yeah, the score is James Horner, and it sounds like every other James Horner score. You've seen Rafa Khan?
Yeah.
Yeah, every time Khan's ship appears on screen. That's it.
That's it.
That's James Horner. That's James Horner, mate. All the fucking way.
James Horner's horns, mate.
Yes, mate. Horner's horns. Every time there's a suspense scene. You watch Commando, which is James Horner, and it's all this fucking Caribbean synth music. And as soon as there's a suspense moment, the Alien score is in there. And to be fair to him, James Cameron, like Ridley Scott, was like, I'm on the fence about this. I'll get back to you. Comes back like 4 days before final mastering and says, nah, do it all again. So
just pull bits of out of all his old projects and put them in.
So yeah. Hats off to him. 4 days I think he had for it. But 90 minutes of the film is just
totally
not a lot going on. No. And then I think the tracks, I will name them for you because there's only fucking 2. Yeah, Bishop's Countdown and The Queen. That's it. The last 20 minutes of the film where you actually notice it. And I think that is the most reproduced piece of music in film ever.
That track, because it was owned by Fox, and Fox made a lot of direct-to-video then direct-to-DVD films in the 90s. And for all the trailers for these films, that music would be on it. So I think me and Tom, my guitarist Tom, we found a film called Cyber Tracker. Nice.
In a in a charity shop, starring Don the Dragon Wilson. Which to us, we took Don as a verb, as in if Dragon Wilson was a hat. Mate, do you want to just real quickly Don the Dragon Wilson?
Yeah, mate,
I'll don it, no problem. And the trailer for it in that, the end of it, it's got the Alien score, and it makes the film just way better than it is. But it is it's a very unmemorable score, apart from the.
But then again, that kind of serves in my head to just make it every other movie that I've ever watched.
Yeah. Rafa Khan, mate.
Rafa Khan.
Yes, mate. Closing statements, mate, on Aliens.
Closing statements is the good old knees up, good time. And let me tell you, mate, you won't believe this.
You won't believe this. Yes, mate.
As we've spoken about it, I've decided that I like Alien 3 more.
We're going to end this with Resurrection being your favourite, mate. Okay, facehuggers out of 20.
16.
Okay, that's a fair shout. So that's like,
I think, to be honest, out of all of them, I would watch it again now. I think if we were like, oh, that was fun making that video about Alien, we'll watch Alien, I'd be like, no, but I'll watch Aliens.
Theatrical cut.
Yeah, why not?
Problem, yeah.
Why not? I got nowhere to be.
Well, I got an ADR session at 9 in the morning, so
Yeah, what's ADR though, innit? Alien Direct Recon and
Alien Directors Ridley.
Yeah. Beautiful. Closing thoughts about Aliens, mate.
I love it because I grew up on it. And it had me in school drawing all these fucking weird pictures of aliens and stuff, and everyone was like,
You got some shit on your arm as well, mate. I mean, I know that's the Predator, but it's basically the same
fucking
thing,
Predator, mate, fuck off. Yeah, it was side by side, I would watch it like every week at least when we finally got a VCR, alongside Terminator. And I had all the action figures and stuff. Fun trivia. In the 90s, they brought out action figures for Terminator and Aliens, but some of them don't actually resemble the characters as they were in the film.
Okay.
So the Bishop action figure I had, he had like these weird cyber goggles and he was shaved bald and had like an antenna on the back of his head. And I never figured out until recently that Terminator was supposed to have an animated series where everything was slightly different and the Terminator could put like rocket launchers on his arm stump and stuff. And Aliens was going to have an animated series for kids. And they designed all the toys for these things, and the series never got off the ground. So there's all these toys that are just kind of like, they don't match up. But yeah.
But they had all the molds, and they were just like, just do it.
Everything was made, they just didn't make the show. That's how it was in the 90s. You made the figures first that you could sell, and then you'd make a show about it. And sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't. So for me, it's I'm kind of past it now. And I want to kind of address this whole absolute impenetrable reverence that everyone has for aliens. Right. They're the same people, okay? Because all these people have a go at me for Alien 3 being my favourite. And they're going to even hate me even more because I like Resurrection now. But they're the same people that say, I do like Game of Thrones, books are better though. And you're like, okay, no need to fucking ruin the conversation in the pub. Books are better, don't you read? Thick cunt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And they love Aliens, and that's the only one they actually really like. Because Alien is alright, and they feel like they have to feel like this is the book.
Yeah,
So they say Aliens is amazing. You know, I can't really decide between Alien and Aliens, and it's like,
well, you can though, can't you? Because they're completely different movies.
It's really easy. Yeah. So I don't understand as such the impenetrable reverence that it gets. In the same way that you know, people don't like RoboCop 2, or you know, people can't just like Gremlins 2.
Well, Gremlins 2 is way better than Gremlins.
Gremlins 2 is candidate for best sequel of all time beyond Terminator 2, mate.
Or Shrek 2.
But yeah.
Don't Song with Shrek 2 was an amazing movie.
It is a banger.
that soundtrack, mate. Unbelievable. It's this fandom culture. You know what I mean? Aliens is so easy to like because it has kind of the best of both worlds. It's got the characters and the concept of Alien that are obviously groundbreaking and really, really interesting. But then it's got that formula, that Hollywood formula, that James Cameron formula that's so easy to love that everyone who was a child or a teenager when that came out, or saw it when they were that, is going to latch onto it immediately. You know, and it's the same with a lot of the fandoms that are about now, you know what I mean? Like we were talking about yesterday, or probably several weeks ago, with Doctor Who now becoming a woman, people are going to immediately reject that because it takes what they love and it turns it on its head, which is essentially what happened post Aliens.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, Alien and Aliens, you can play back to back, no problem at all. That's one cohesive story, nice character stays pretty much the same. You know, it feels like a logical progression for the characters and the storyline. And then Alien 3 hits and it's bam, reset button. Bit of a Russell T Davies moment. And so you can see then why people who were so invested in Aliens will just reject it and everything that comes after it. You know what I mean? A good example for me is Scrubs. Do you ever watch Scrubs?
Yes. Yeah.
I love Scrubs. Scrubs for me is probably what Aliens was for you.
Yeah.
You know, I would come home from school every day and I'd put a DVD in and I'd watch it back to back and I'd go through like 2 or 3 seasons a day. And when I finished it, I'd start it again. You know what I mean? And I'd have it on in the background, you know, I wasn't just sat watching it. But I could recite you every line of that.
Yeah.
And they finished it and they finished it well. and then they did another season, and I will adamantly refuse to acknowledge its existence.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
However, I actually did enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that bad. And looking back at it now, when I've got a bit of a disconnect from it, and I'm not quite the child that I used to be, I can acknowledge that as a thing in its own right, it's okay. But I can totally understand why people properly reject things that came after Aliens.
Yeah.
And why people seem to be enjoying Prometheus and Covenant, where you don't.
Yes.
Because it does harken back a lot more, from what I've heard, having not seen them, not personally.
Yeah.
To that original story.
Well, Ridley Scott is one of those, he is an absolute Holocaust denier. And, you know, people are back with him on that, even though he's absolutely just walking around screaming and shouting, throwing his toys out the pram and shitting on his own franchise. And it's like, okay, that's fine, but he's literally just taking a piss on it. And it's ruining everything that's mysterious about it. The nail in the coffin with the issue, for me, was when Neil Blomkamp said he was going to do Alien 5.
Yeah, I having never even seen Alien at the time, I'm a big fan of Neil Blomkamp, and I was like, you know, fucking hell, that could be massive.
Yeah. And as soon as he, you know, started talking about it, I was like, yes, I've seen District 9. I fucking love District 9. I was even holding my attention through Elysium. I thought that was great, and I do like Chaffee. And I thought, he's a South African director. He knows what fucking Misery is about.
Absolutely.
If I like Misery, then he's fucking down with Alien 3. And he was like, I want to bring Hicks and Ripley back. It's going to be a big old family barbecue. We're going to kick some alien butt. In fact, no, fuck it. I'm going to bring all the Marines back that died. We're going to have a big Marine reunion. Bishop's going to be back. Vasquez going to tell some more transgender jokes. Hudson's going to say game over again. I'm going to make the same thing. We all up in this Force Awakens alien bitch. And I was just like, the fuck is wrong with you? You grew up in apartheid and you can't accept Alien 3. What is the matter with you? And everyone was behind it. Lance Henriksen was just like, I mean, if it gets me some more paid work, then yeah, Jesus Christ, yes, please, I'll do it. But like, no, you can't do that. Can you imagine if J.J. Abrams had said, yeah, Empire Strikes Back never happened, just gonna scrub that? Or even if he said Phantom Menace never happened, people would go, hey, hang on.
No, we don't like them, but they do exist.
And he just fucking jumped out of his little baby bouncer and stamped all over that, and I was like, cool, mate, alright. Chappie weren't that good, mate. I mean, you basically
pull your britches up.
Pull your britches up. Diane would just said everything that they wanted to do in that film, and then you just fucking suck it up the arse, mate. So yeah, I was a bit annoyed by that. But yeah, the reverence of that film, I think that spoiled the film itself for me. It's one of those things
you
where
can't
the
watch it
destroys.
without picturing people going, "That's not a shotgun, it's a blaster! Guns fire bullets, blasters fired lasers!"
It's a phased plasma pulse rifle, mate. Not a gun or a blaster, you prick. We need to point out in this moment, because we are going to be sharing these links on the Sore Thumbs page, that we have been watching these mostly in Laserdisc format.
Yes.
And they are sponsoring our show for the most part. It's how we can bring you all these fabulous, fantastic things. I'm pretty sure no one's watching this point. We're like 3 hours in. But you can pick up these Laserdiscs from the shop if you're into that sort of thing. And you can get these in, I would say, not their definitive editions, but if you're interested in getting the cinema experience, then that's the way to go for it.
I have been a little bit open to Laserdiscs of late. Dave has been showing me around, and it is nice to experience it in an older format that's still actually watchable. Like VHS for me still is just not good enough. But at the same time, I really hate DVDs.
Yes.
I really hate DVDs.
The throwaway nature of DVDs.
Yeah, because because it's that digital compression is just trash.
Which isn't there.
No, which these aren't. They've got a bit of analog compression and that weird textile-esque grain. But yeah, because being a video editor by trade, it just feels like someone's done a bad job on the export when you watch a DVD. Whereas at least with this, it feels real. And if you don't have a Laserdisc player, you can always just frame that. And how nice would that look on your wall?
That is the tits as well.
That would look real nice.
Yeah. Soulmate, Alien 3.
Yes.
Now, obviously, for the last couple of years, you've sat where you've had to sit in a room with me whilst various people have come in and said Aliens is the best, and I've said, well, I like Alien 3, and then
they've all spat on you and
they've all
set fire to your belongings,
and you don't really know why I like Alien 3.
No, you've been quite a kind father in that you've not passed your own perceptions on to me.
No.
So I've only ever really heard the bad things about Alien 3, apart from the fact that I knew you liked it, and me and you tend to have quite similar tastes. So going into it, my expectations were mixed. And to be honest, I was very pleasantly surprised, because the way that people talk about it, you would honestly think that it was a B movie that was complete and utter dog shit.
You would expect everything to be bad about it.
Yeah, 100%. No redeeming qualities whatsoever. And that simply isn't the case. I think there are a few issues.
There are gaping flaws.
100%. And the one that
in
got
both cuts, I will point out.
And the one that got me to start with is the same kind of an issue as I had with Resurrection, which is why is this alien got to be a cow? Why can't it just be a person like all the other ones? Why did they have to do that?
Well, it's one of those things, like, retroactively, where people look back at it and think, oh, hang on a minute, no, that is fucking sick. Because the toy lines, no matter how many people hated it at the time, the toy lines, the video games, the comics, the novel adaptations, the audiobooks, everything since played off this idea that wherever the alien was, whatever planet it landed on or whatever, it could become, whatever animal it would find would become a host for it, and it was like the ultimate genetic sort of superior creature. So it explains why there's acid-spitting aliens in some of the spin-off fiction, why there's cow aliens, why there's bull aliens, and why, in what I consider to be a canon film, why there is a predator alien, And it's another one of those things from Alien 3 that it's like fucking Christianity. It's like, oh, we like those wings on those Egyptian gods. Can we put them on the angels? We don't like what you're doing. We're going to kill you all.
But that is a sick idea.
That is fucking tight, that is. Let's have that, right. Fucking burn the rest of this down.
So basically what you need to do is next time someone says something to you about aliens being better and Alien 3 not existing, you'll just be like, yeah, but what about fucking Praliens and all that?
How many canonical ideas have endured from Alien 3 and how many have endured from Aliens? I don't see Hicks walking around an AVP, mate. I'll tell you that till you do.
And that is interesting, because the other thing that brings it kind of full circle back round to the big thing on the gun in Alien. It's like, well, what the fuck did the alien that came out of that thing look like?
Absolutely, it's this idea of universe building. Like, it takes you back and you think, oh shit, hang on a minute, so what would have? Oh fuck.
Yeah, that would have been like a 30-foot tall, big fat elephant alien thing.
Yeah,
that's
and then
probably
Ridley
still roaming around
in
somewhere.
Prometheus, Ridley actually shows you what comes out of it. It's massively disappointing. But hey.
Oh, brilliant. Can't wait to watch Prometheus.
My name's Ridley, blah, blah, blah. Okay, Ridley.
That's fine. How about you just send me a Polaroid of it? And then
hey, Ridley, remember that ending of the director's cut of Blade Runner where it was all sunshine and rainbows and happy hawks and open-top cars? Yeah. You're a fucking tit.
Like I said, there are a lot of redeeming qualities to Alien 3. There's a lot of things. None more for me than Charles Dance.
Absolutely.
In this movie is absolutely primo, top dollar. Let me tell you, mate, you won't believe this.
You won't believe this. He's a doctor with a shaved head.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.
But I think he serves, just him being there and him doing the performance that he does serves to reinforce so much of the lore of the place that they're in. He himself does a lot of world building.
Yeah. I mean, he's in the majority in the first half. Spoiler alert, he only survives the first half. But kind of all the key establishing scenes, like the beach stuff with all the big cranes that kind of introduces you to this old iron foundry or whatever it is that doesn't really operate anymore. And he introduces you basically to the prisons one by one, and he narrates Ripley's tour around the place, so you know who the characters are, you know what that is. And it's kind of he's the Morgan Freeman from Shawshank in this film sort of thing, and it is kind of like a prison movie in that way.
Yeah.
And he, it's very cleverly done that you therefore relate to Ripley as an outsider, because you're learning all this through his explanations to her, and therefore you kind of have to attach to him in some way, so that when she's asking him questions like, well, how did you get here?
Yeah, you're like, why
are you a prisoner? Why have you got a barcode on your head, sort of thing? You have to become attached to him. So
that when they rip him out of the ceiling halfway through the movie, you're like, oh, not again, David. Thought you were done with killing my favourite people.
Jesus Christ. And that is, it's David Fincher's ultimate idea of what the alien is. And it's all about, it's not whether Hicks is your favourite character, or you like Newt, or you think Bishop's awesome now that he's done something good and you know that he's a good guy. It's the fact that the alien doesn't really give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, when it attached to John Hurt's face in the first one, you were like, oh shit, okay. I thought John Hurt was the main character. So you're harkening back to this idea that everyone is absolutely expendable. No one has an immunity card, and ultimately Ripley doesn't have an immunity card from it. And it will just absolutely kill everything. That's all it does. Perfect organism, as it said in the first one. It just wants to fucking destroy everything.
Yeah, it's just a survival instinct, and that's that.
And that's one of the big problems people have with Alien 3, is Newt and Hicks dying at the start.
Obviously.
No one gives a shit about Bishop, but I watched a lot of Millennium and I really like Lance Henriksen, so he's not still up there, is he?
No, he's gone.
No, we're getting that beautiful
yeah, mate. I mean, say what you like about LED TVs, but the blacks on a CRT will never be beaten.
Yes, mate. Absolutely. I even watched Tomb Raider.
Do you know why that is, mate? It's because they're physically not projecting any light into those spaces where the blacks are.
Yes, mate.
It's magical how that works.
Unbelievable. They just don't do it. They just don't project light. It's incredible. It's like almost like clever. Yeah. So for me, that is. I have to say the Laserdisc version is not a great transfer, and it is a very fucking murky and dark film anyway.
Yeah, so you can't really see what's going on.
Yeah, and you can't get the assembly cut on Laserdisc, so we had to skip that one over. But we did watch bits of it back, because you were curious about what was different in the theatrical cut.
Yeah, particularly the ending, which is much better, I think, in the theatrical cut. It adds a lot more to it.
Yeah.
When she's falling into the pit of lava and the alien bursts out and she hugs it onto herself, rather than spinning around and trying to use the centrifugal force to force herself away.
Yeah, my ideal cut is somewhere between the two. And one day when I have time, I might even make that special cut and put it out on the Pirate Bay for all the Redditors to get buttery over. But it was the assembly cut on the Blu-ray has more than the assembly cut from the DVD, because it was the last film to really get the proper good treatment. So on the Quadrillogy DVD, they've thrown in scenes that they just have on-set audio for, and because of that, Charles Dance is shouting over a load of camera noise, he's shouting over fans blowing smoke and stuff, and it kind of ruins those scenes. But in this one, they actually said, Charles Dance, come in there, Lance Henriksen, come in here, let's ADR it, let's do it properly. And they really kind of, for the Blu-ray release, they show it kind of the reverence that it actually deserves, I think.
Didn't go back in and do a better job of that absolutely dog shit alien puppet, though, did they? Didn't do that.
And it is a puppet.
Yes, I mean, well, I say we debated this. I never argued that it wasn't a puppet. What I said is that it's trash, which it absolutely is. So in Alien 3, the dog cow hybrid weird alien thing is a puppet, but what they've done is they've recorded this puppet against a green screen and then placed it retroactively into the footage, which looks awful.
I think what they did for the Blu-ray, they must have taken the original blue screen footage, because it would have been blue.
Well, but there's quite a distinct green.
And then put it against the green, is what I'm saying. I think they've put it against something else and then chromed it differently, because in the Laserdisc version, the green isn't there.
No.
Even with the blur, you can still tell that green isn't there. It's got a green hue to it. Yeah. But I think that's what they did to try and blend it a bit better, rather than a green outline.
Yeah, a green outline and all the fucking highlights on the alien are green, and it just doesn't look like it's in the same room.
Yeah. So I think they've tried to fix it somehow and make it a bit better, because obviously that's one of everyone's major grievances, is that the alien looks shit. But that's only 5% of its appearances, I think. The rest is just a big
It's costume. True. I mean, the big costume / puppet that they have on set, when they're in the corridors and he starts pulling people out when they're in the big lead corridor. And he pokes his little head round the corner, and you're like, oh, fucking hell, that is scary. That looks good. It looks like Alien, you know, and that's great. And it just begs the question, why didn't they just do that? You know, because there's so many techniques for getting a puppet on set. They could have just done that. I mean, they had blue screen technology. That means you can blue screen people out rather than blue screening a puppet in. You know what I mean? And that to me is really frustrating and really kind of mars the film.
I think it's because the film is plagued by studio intervention. And I think with Jurassic Park coming out, they were like, right, we've got to use this new technology or people are going to fucking laugh at us. So I think there was some compulsion to put a full digital effect on the screen just for the sake of doing it. And it doesn't work because the other two films, I don't think you ever see a complete full-size alien. The only time you do is the Alien Queen. And I'm pretty sure someone's inside it and there's 18 puppeteers operating a full-size thing, including Stan Winston underneath with a boom pole.
If you start talking about money, then obviously they've done the right thing because puppeting an alien like that is...
Well, I think it was literally because they were said, right, put some CGI in, just put a special effect in. It's a puppet, but just like chroma it in somehow. And I think there was pressure to do that. Which does lead me on to the point of what the original story was going to be.
Okay.
And the original concept is fucking insane. Like, what? So, it was going to be the same kind of situation where she lands in an all-male environment, but instead of a planet, it was going to be a wooden space station made out of wood.
Yeah.
She crashes into the side of it. I think the inside was made of wood, so the outside was like a spaceship.
Yeah.
So she crashes into it, and inside is a monastery of monks that have isolated themselves completely secular from humanity. And so we've still got the same kind of stuff here. It's not a prison, it's like a monastery, and inside is just this fucking huge Gothic cathedral. And everything sort of plays out the same from there. There's meant to be more aliens in there and stuff, and it harkens a little bit back to what Aliens had going through it, which was just army versus army sort of thing. Army of aliens, army of humans, but it was completely nuts. And they've carried some of those ideas across, but because of that, it feels a little bit disjointed. So you've got, you know, my mum would sit behind me when I was watching it, and she would contextualize stuff for me.
Okay.
So that we could watch these horrendously violent things, like RoboCop 1 and 2, and she would sit there and she would say, okay, now this is happening, this is why that's happening, you know, these people are bad for this reason, such and such. And she studied fine art, and she said to me, the first time Ripley's put on the operating table, there's a very famous Renaissance painting of Jesus after he was crucified. And it's the exact same shot, exact same angle.
Okay.
Where he's been put on like a slab, basically. And so it's really all the time hammering these religious iconographies. And you mentioned it earlier, which was Golic, the character of Golic, seeing this thing as a religious entity. Yeah. Not a god as such, I think. Well, because Ripley comes into this environment and they're like, they all really don't like her. And obviously, you don't know at that point, but she is carrying an alien inside her. And then they sort of have this demonic reverence for the alien itself. And obviously there's this big Gothic architecture all around, and they still got that. It's industrial, but it's Gothic. And I think that's where it comes, it tries to really say something about this, like, you know, how long have these aliens been around? How ancient are they, sort of thing. But
I mean, the point I made when we talked about this earlier on was that for me, I think it does work within Alien 3, and I think that's because they are really hammering home that religious tone, and they're trying to really say something about it. But that whole idea of this alien being almost godlike in the way that people worship it and people follow it, that bleeds into resurrection, really, for me, doesn't really play. Because the alien, as it appears in Alien and Aliens, is this survival, this purely primal creature, just built to survive, who's like a beast, essentially, rather than being this kind of deity, essentially, as they're painting it. So I think those are two really clashing things. And I would understand, say if there were like, oh, we found these historic texts of humans that used to worship this alien because Oh, fuck's sake. Yeah, of humans that used to worship this alien because it was just so powerful, and that tends to be how people say it. It's like, isn't it a magnificent specimen? And that I kind of understand, but going into this new environment and they're just like, oh, it's no. That for me just kind of doesn't play. But that kind of leads me on to my other point, which is that Alien 3, I think, is the best in terms of it being a standalone movie.
Yeah.
I think if you just played Alien 3 to somebody with no context at all, I think it works perfectly on its own. If you get rid of the bit at the start where they kill her mates off, although I suppose even then it still works because it's like her mates are dead, she's on her own now in this new environment.
Clean slate.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it works perfectly because it is, in a totally non-Marvel Cinematic Universe sort of way, a completely self-contained story that you can take out and use on its own, because all these new characters are explained beautifully and they're very well developed, and that you get a lot of development within a lot of the prisoners and the characters in there as they go from being stern to then being afraid and then being brave again at the end. It just works perfectly, and even Ripley has got her own arc where she kind of starts to trust Charles Dance's character.
That's
and then
the series, I think.
Yeah, and then he dies out, and I think she's probably the most likable as a character in Alien 3 as well, most relatable, because she's just had her life completely fucked up, and she just really wanted to be okay. And like the first half hour of the movie, she was like, "Can we please just try? Can we not? I'd just like for no one else to die. Is that okay?
Can we just have a sit down? Can we have a funeral? Is that alright? Can we just, guys?
Yeah, please.
Seriously, can I just have a walk around? Can you just give me some clothes?
And you really
shave my head. Fuck's sake.
Shave my head and fucking. Can I at least be there when you throw my husband into the flames? Like, you know, and you really do feel for her. And as time goes on, she just gets more exasperated. She's like, just fucking listen to me. Let's do this. To the point where at the end they finally trust her and she leads them. It is there's so many decent story arcs and well fleshed out characters in that I think if you were just going to only watch one of these ever, I think I would watch Alien 3. Rather than the others, because I think like we said beforehand, a lot of the gravitas of Alien comes retrospectively, particularly from Aliens, which ties up a lot of stuff. I think you've got to watch Aliens to get a complete story. Alien 3, I think, absolutely works in its own right.
But it so violently distances itself from everything else. I mean, it's David Fincher, I think he was 25. It's his first feature, ridiculously good. It's his first feature film. He needed to make a statement, and unfortunately it just didn't work. Mostly because he couldn't do what he wanted. And as a standalone piece, I think it works because you've got the Shawshank factor. Actually, bringing it back to Shawshank, you've got a confined space with all these people in it, and even though you don't get the backstory for everyone, you know who certain people are, you know who's mates with who, you know who doesn't like who. So it's a much, much leaner version of Orange is the New Black, mate. Trimming all that crap out and then just telling you what's what. And I think the way that it's handled is very British.
Yeah,
it is a very British
It's very
film.
Kitchen sink.
It's almost a Ken Loach film. Ken Loach's Alien Cube. He's got a little face hugger on his arm and he's trying to teach you how to do tricks and shit.
100%. It contrasts so massively with Aliens, which is very American.
Yes.
American is very, pick up a grenade launcher and let's go kill the bad guy. And then this one is very, let's just kind of have a think about it and come up with a cohesive plan that might actually work, rather than just hiding in this room until it goes away.
And in this one they quite literally say, like, we have no guns. And it's at one point Ripley says, do you actually have the capacity to make fire? It's like, I mean,
maybe.
I think, as a self-contained piece, it is the best one, and it is the one that I go back to watch by itself when I'm by myself and I'm having a bad day, mate.
And no one else is around to judge you.
I just cracked on, again, it's the one that I watched most as a kid. I watched Alien, and then finally Mum let me watch Alien 3 when I was like 8, I think, and it was theatrical cut. And again, first time watching it, she explained it all for me, and then absolutely hooked. Like, you know, I used to write my own shitty little kiddie fan fiction based on Alien 3 characters and stuff like that, because I remembered all the characters.
Yeah.
Like, I remember the Marines from Aliens, but they're all kind of cardboard cutouts that you get with a cereal box. Like, oh shit, I'm collecting this, I'm collecting Drake, I'm collecting Vasquez, brilliant. He's dead already. But with this one, you remember people's voices, you remember the way they speak, you remember their character traits, you remember that one of them's got an IQ of 85. Pete Postlethwaite's in there. You know, just being a great actor and a bit part, as always, God rest him. He was in Inception, I think he was the old man.
Okay.
Guys. Yeah, he was Cillian Murphy's dad in that.
Oh, yeah.
And he's in Lost World as well.
Who is he in Alien 3?
He's only got a very small part. I don't even think he's got a name. Yeah. But yeah, you remember all these. You don't know their names, but you remember them because they've all got different accents. Some of them from Brooklyn, some of them from Russia, whatever. And they've all got very interesting things about them. Even the fact that Dylan has glasses, and he's constantly adjusting his glasses. It's the Captain Price thing from Call of Duty. Give him a beard, character. You remember him, you bond with him.
Well, it's interesting. It comes back to what we were saying about them all being different genres, because obviously Aliens is a rootin' tootin' action movie that's very fast-paced and very quick, and it's all bang, bang, boom, big explosions, kiss the girl. And this is a lot slower. And it takes its time, and it you know, there's nothing going on for the first half hour, 45 minutes, because it's introducing you to this world and all these characters, so that when it all comes crashing down in the third act, it means something to you in a way that it really doesn't in the other ones in the franchise, and that speaks volumes to the film, I think.
And in terms of, we mentioned it earlier with the lasting impressions it's had on canon. The impression it had, even though it was absolutely slammed when it came out, I think it was 92, the effect it had on all other media. Like, I mean, a sci-fi movie now looks more like a sci-fi horror, say, for instance. So, like something like Pandorum or Event Horizon, you think, well, what does that look like? And it looks like Alien 3. The architecture is often copy-paste. So you play a Doom game now, looks like Alien 3. The original Doom was post-Alien, and that Alien 3, and that looks like, it looks like the film. There's so many things that have been taken from it, like, that looks fantastic, that's incredible, bring that over here.
Well, it kind of, it dirties up the future a little bit, you know what I mean? Because I think, particularly in the 70s and the early 80s, it was like the future is this big shining 2001, A Space Odyssey, everything's white, everything's beeping, there's TV screens everywhere. And Alien 3 was like, well, hang on a second, just because we're a few hundred years in the future doesn't mean that every fucker's got a television, let alone a phaser gun and white walls. You know, it was like there's still prisons, there's still people
prison colonies are still prison colonies.
Living in squalor. There's no need for this to be set in the future at all.
No.
Except from that it is. And even if you had never seen Alien, you didn't know any of that, you still get the impression that it is from the future, probably because of the spaceship at the beginning. But even though the rest of the film goes off in a completely different direction, you know what I mean? And that, you know, you can't, it's hard to have horror in the traditional sense when everything is very clean and pristine. And everything like that. You know, I said 2001 there. I wouldn't call it necessarily a horror, but it's a suspense movie, and you know, it's designed to make you feel uncomfortable. You know, it's not an action movie or a rom-com or anything like that. You know what I mean? But that's kind of what you can achieve, and that's a similar kind of thing as Alien. You know, it's like you get a bit of claustrophobia and everything like that, but you can't get that gritty, nasty psychological horror. In that kind of environment. And Alien 3 opens it up not just for the franchise, but I think for sci-fi. Sci-fi horror crossovers. I mean, the key point in that with the technology aspect is that the prisoners keep saying, no, we haven't got that, nothing works here. We've only got one battery in 9,000 that has actually got any charge. We've got one flashlight between all 30 of us. And is when she finds Bishop on a scrap heap. He's the most advanced piece of technology that exists in that place. And he's on a scrap heap, and she pulls him back, and then she manages to get him running by sticking some shit in his ear, and it's all it's an unpleasant scene because the animatronics do look a lot like Lance Henriksen. He's a very easy face to replicate because he's so
much character. And you know, it's his real voice and everything, but it's kind of gargled and it's kind of nastied up, And that for me is it's the key point. Like, the most advanced piece of technology you've got that holds the answers to what you need is fucking broken. And then he says he wants to die.
Yeah. Please, just let me go.
Jesus Christ.
I don't want to be in this place. Look at it. Bishop Mole.
Fucking hell.
But I already killed the kid, mate. There wasn't anywhere to go, really.
Absolutely. Hicks his teeth all over the place.
Nightmare!
Oh, dear me. And I've got to obviously touch on the score. The score is probably one of the best ever. Definitely the best out of the franchise. David Fincher was just like, yep, that.
Done.
Yeah, that's good. Spend more time on that. It mixes a lot of sound design with classic orchestra. And apparently in the studios there was times when the sound design team were like, no, that's our job. What are you doing? And then everyone was kind of getting crossed over. But there's these beautiful moments. It's kind of got this... Fincher was clearly watching a lot of old Kurosawa movies. It's got a Japanese influence into it, where everything's like blah, 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 blah. The scene where the superintendent gets eaten, and there's just like people standing up out their chairs, but they take so long to over that the chairs are rattling around for maybe 25-30 seconds, and then silence. It's absolutely beautifully done, from chaos to silence, order, destruction, all this stuff. Very old school style of doing things, and the score is constantly just kind of like, shit. It's unsettling. The synthesizers, there's orchestra, and the funeral scene always just fucking gets me. Always gets me. That Adagio for strings is it's unbelievable stuff. And when the alien's crawling around off screen, you've got kind of like tapping violin strings, like scuttling little feet and little insect noises, and it's just it pains me there's no vinyl release yet. There's a HD audio rip, which I'm very proud owner of. And that's I crack that out every now and again just to kind of sit there and go, fuck, and bang my head.
On an alien, mate. He's trying to kill you.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, so for me, it's all round. It's the best one just because it's the boldest, it's the most aggressive, it's the most strongest in its message, and all the sums of the parts make up for the fact that the sums of the parts don't work as a cohesive picture.
Yeah.
And it's completely its own original thing. This is Dark Star. This is, it's what...
Everything else that James Cameron's ever done.
Yes, mate. This just says, no, go fuck yourself. I'm doing whatever.
And now for something completely different.
But you can't have a wooden spaceship, David Fincher. Fuck, alright then.
Nightmare.
Yes, mate. Any closing statements from you? I've said everything I want to say, but...
Yes, I feel like I've kind of expelled all my thoughts about it as well. I think, really, there's probably no one left watching us. If you've made it this far through us bashing aliens and then enjoying Alien 3, then hats off to you. You must be a man or woman of great conviction.
Certainly not Neil Blomkamp.
No. Who is not a fan. Or Jamie McKellar, for that record.
I reckon... No, he wouldn't. No.
Last but absolutely least, mate.
Absolutely least. Speaking of losing viewership and not making any friends... Let's talk about Alien Resurrection,
mate.
The film I have hated for about 20 years, and upon watching it again, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, we watched the trilogy, didn't we? And it got to be about 1 a.m. Not too late. It's about 1 a.m. now.
It did get to about 2, though, I think.
Yeah. And we were just like, I was just like, oh, we're going to watch Resurrection now. And he was like, no. And I feel like that didn't necessarily come from a place of bedtime. I think
the thing I have to do, though, every time I watch it, is I have to put distance between 3 and 4. Because
people lump them together.
Does shit on 3.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because Fincher's and that did piss me off as well. To be honest, probably in the same way that 3 shits on 2 pisses people off. Because Fincher's whole thing of no one's safe from the alien and it's going for this predatory, it don't give a fuck, and then even at the end, Ripley dies, and you're like, yeah. I get it. For the same reason why and actually I didn't say this when we were talking about the crossover. When we finished watching Aliens, I was like, why did they survive? Like, I was pissed off. And you were like, well, mate, let me fucking show you. And I was then quite happy I was quite happy when everyone was dead, because it pissed me off. And then for Resurrection to go so far against that and just fully go, don't worry about it, bring her back, is fucking annoying. And then also And then, but by that same token, you kind of have to disagree with the entire premise, which is that they brought her back to get this alien back. But then it's like science. You've got to just completely suspend your disbelief on the science of it. It's like she burnt to a crisp.
Yes.
To an actual in molten lead crisp. There's no DNA left in there. Let alone.
Well, she had syringes and stuff, didn't they?
Yeah, but what, syringes of her?
Yeah.
From after she had.
When she was in the prison hospital, yeah.
Oh, what, on the Alien 3 prison hospital? Is that how they did it?
Yeah.
Trash.
I mean,
the fact that they're just like, oh, I've got a bit of her DNA, so the alien that was in her tummy, that'll just grow back again, no problem. That's fucking annoying. It doesn't make any sense.
They do kind of address it, and I've spoken to some very rational people about this who do share my opinions on the quadrilogy. And get yourself comfortable for this because you're in for a fucking big time here.
You gotta set me straight.
I set some time aside between 3 and 4, but I think 4 spews acid over Alien 3. I don't think it shits on it. I think it makes the ending of Alien 3 that little bit more of a bitter pill to swallow. Because all that sacrifice ultimately means absolutely fuck all.
Yeah,
which is what Fincher would have liked.
Yeah, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's symbolically a similar feeling.
Yeah.
Even if practically it's the opposite.
Yeah. And, you know, they do address the whole the cloning wouldn't work thing when they do the test lab thing with all the failed clones. And that is a very, very powerful, interesting scene. It doesn't belong in that film.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not. For me, science-wise, it's just literally why would her DNA? You know, if I got a bit of your DNA now and I put it in a test tube and grew it up, that baby wouldn't look anything like you.
No.
Let alone have the same child growing in you that was there when she was what, like 30 odd?
Yeah.
Like how science-wise, I just had to completely forget about it.
Yeah.
But that scene, you're right. The scene with all the things, and I think Sigourney Weaver does a very good job in that scene.
Acting both parts in that scene, in fact.
Yeah, 100%.
And we should probably break down the story a little bit. So I think it's set 300 years.
I think they say 200.
200.
It was somebody says, but Ripley died 200 years ago.
Yeah. So it's set 200 years after Alien 3. Everything's sort of changed a bit. In the director's cut, Weyland Yutanis been bought out by Walmart, which is a statement that can absolutely go fuck itself.
I'm glad that we didn't watch that version.
And they've brought Ripley back with DNA from the prison colony. So at least they're acknowledging Alien 3. Brilliant, nice one. Neil Blomkamp. And it's like their 18th attempt, and they finally managed to keep the human and the alien that's inside her.
For the record.
8.
She has an 8 on her, doesn't she?
I thought it was 18.
No, it is 8.
Oh yeah, the door says 1 to 7 as well. My bad. So it's the 8th version, and they finally managed to make an intact human and an intact embryo alien inside her. They extract the alien, and of course, it's the queen, as stated in number 3, and they make it breed, and they keep all the aliens stupidly in containers with each other.
Yeah. What the fuck is that about? Like, keep them separate from each other. Because that bit, the bit where the aliens escape, and they just like, well, if we just kill one of us, he's got acid blood, hasn't he? And then we're all right.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't think of that. The fact that container isn't like acid proof.
Yes.
Because they know it has acid blood. Like, you know, they didn't even have to kill one. He could have just fucking cut himself and got himself out. Like, it's dumb as fuck.
Yeah. And the means for them, this introduces the other whole lot of characters. The vehicle for them to breed these aliens is for a group of basically space cowboys, space pirates, led by Michael Wincott, the single growliest man in cinema history, who recently did an appearance in Westworld, the TV show.
Okay.
As like one of the first run robots they designed, and it's just great to see him back on screen. There's also Winona Ryder in there, Ron Perlman.
I love a bit of Ron Perlman.
It's all a cast of familiar faces, and most of them have been in Jean-Pierre Jeunet films before. I recognise the wheelchair guy from Delicatessen, I think. And so immediately you've got everyone you can recognise. because everyone just looks so different.
Yeah.
You cannot forget what Ron Perlman looks like.
No, they've all got a fucking Bishop face.
Absolutely, yeah.
A face for cinema, as you said so aptly.
Well, yeah. And it turns out they've been paid a lot of money to bring in this human cargo, which is then used to breed the aliens in quite a horrific scene where they got their heads pinned over the over the eggs. And in the same way as Alien 3, it's a very artistic looking film. But that is Jean-Pierre Jeunet. Everything's beautifully high contrast. Everything's just very sort of laid out.
Yeah.
Almost like a painting.
But yeah, in contrast to particularly Alien, it's quite a bright film. And there's a lot of kind of hope and happiness in the first half. Yeah. Particularly the first act. It's like a ragtag bunch of space cowboys going about having a nice time. They're just messing around. Ron Perlman's hitting on all the ladies. You know, it's quite nice. And then obviously that means that when the action hits and the aliens start coming out, it's like bam, done. And I feel like they also do a very good job of making you care about these characters quite a lot for their flaws. Like the only problem I had is that I really don't like Winona Ryder in anything. I think I can't get on board with her. She was the worst thing about Stranger Things for me. And like I was really trying hard to give a fuck about her kid, and she was just ruining it for me. And it was the same thing here. It was like I really wanted to care when they knocked her in the river, but I was like, oh, thank fuck for that. Winona's gone. Oh no, wait a second, she's not gone. Turns out they're doing the same trope as every other film in the franchise has done.
But the exposition with her character and the other characters is handled very nicely, because you get this idea of the scope of the universe. So she tells you that like all these androids that were being used to like mine raw materials and shit just changed their minds, and they were like not interested actually. Right. And they were robots built by robots, and they built their
second gen.
Yeah, they burnt their modems and they learnt religion and stuff like that. It's it's quite an interesting thing. It doesn't really go anywhere.
No.
But it serves to expand the universe. And in the same way, the characters are effortlessly infused with each other. Like one of my favourite scenes is the underwater scene. I think that's a magnificent set piece. And there's a bit where they have to ditch the wheelchair guy's chair.
Yeah.
And the dreadlock dude said, and it's fine, I'll just have to carry her. And the wheelchair guy's like, just like old times. Yeah. And you're like, well, I get a sense that these people have been together like 15, 20 years.
Yeah, they've been doing it a while.
Literally has to carry him on his back. And it's it's a great scene, and that where he cuts himself loose and sacrifices himself is, I think it's one of the better moments in the quadrilogy. Is that it has a bit of weight to it. Yeah,
it's got a bit of gravitas, a little bit
in terms
of
character.
Yeah, for sure. And I also, because obviously, like I say, I like a happy film. I like funny moments. That's why I like Aliens. The way that they like all have a weapon still on them is just really cute. And the best one of them for me is the wheelchair guy, when he just fully dismantles his entire chair to build a gun.
Wheelchair guy that
alien guys
assembles a shotgun out of his chair, and at the start he says, "Do you want to scan the chair?" And the guy's like, "No, you're all right." And Ron Perlman with his thermos, he's like, "My own recipe, way more deadly," and it is actually a fucking gun in the thermos. Yeah. And the dreadlock dude has Christy has the two guns in his arms.
Which how didn't they find that though? A basic pat down would have done that for what? You've got an entire apparatus on there. But
yeah, it's just so it's all that sort of gunslinger stuff.
Yeah, well, it's very Firefly in it, like you say. It's got Joss Whedon written all over it.
Yeah. Brad Dourif in there. I don't know if you know Brad Dourif, but you know Wormtongue?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's the crazy scientist that is the one with he's hitting him with the fire extinguisher thing.
Oh yeah.
He's just fucking chewing scenery all the way through. Like he's incredible, just like grinning and snarling his teeth.
Yeah, the scene where he's looking at the alien in the cage it's the same kind of a look as the robotic guys give the facehuggers when they're examining them. He's like, this is a magnificent specimen, and he's all that, and you kind of, you're interested with him because you're 4 movies in, you still don't know shit about these aliens, and you kind of want to know what's going to happen here, but at the same time you're thinking, you absolute dickhead, what are you doing, you complete and utter madman, are you a robot, like the whole time. But yeah, his performance was amazing. I absolutely was not sorry when he met his sticky end.
No. But the scene where he teaches it not to bang the glass,
Yeah, yeah.
otherwise it gets punished, is like...
Well, that's the thing. There's obviously, you know, it's all on your tits up because it's an alien movie.
Yeah.
But you're like, she's like, you can't train the aliens. They don't give a fuck about you. You can't train them. And he's like, actually, fucking yes, I can. You know, and given a little bit more foresight and a few more chambers, they might have just about got away with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
But I think all of the good points of the movie aside, the ending just is not good.
The last act.
The last act with the alien
hybrid
baby thing. I can't get behind it. I can't, because it takes it an extra step, because the whole thing in Alien 3 where they morph and they change based on everything else that it assimilates with.
Mm-hmm.
The concept that they've gone with here is that because Ripley birthed this mother, this queen.
So she's got alien DNA and the alien's got a bit of human DNA.
Yeah, exactly.
So it has a womb, not just laid eggs. Yeah.
But then again, surely that is kind of how the queens must exist anyway.
Yeah.
They must come from something.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I suppose they could be playing off the idea that the queen that they dealt with in Aliens was like a derivative of a different species with a different reproductive system, works in a different way. This is a human queen, so blah de blah. But even then, why is it giving birth in that way to this thing when there's already all these eggs?
Yes.
It's already reproducing in the way that it reproduced before.
Yeah.
Why does it feel the need to produce this thing, which seems to be completely flawed at the base level, just in terms of an alien?
Well, it kills the thing that
it kills the queen, thus ending the lineage of that hive,
thus ending the threat of the xenomorph in the film.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
Exactly. And then it itself is all doe-eyed and weak.
Yeah.
Sure, it's kind of big and scary, but it looks like you could topple it if you really wanted to. If you went up and gave it a big push, it looks like it'd fall on its back.
Undertaker give it a choke slam.
Exactly, mate. Undertaker and Atari making a comeback. You know what I mean? It was not getting my emotion engine started. You know what I mean? And you will not believe it. I just didn't get on board with it.
There's moments where it looks great when it's chasing Winona Ryder around the docking hatch, and they've got all these strobe lights going on it, and you're getting some weird angles on its face. I think it looks great at times, but when the full light of Jean-Pierre Jeunet wanting to show you everything on screen, in his beautiful high contrast, it looks dog shit with its little pop, but it looks gross.
Yeah.
It's achieved a gross look.
Yeah, it's gross as fuck, and maybe that's what he was going for, but that just feels like a bad move to me. It wasn't threatening. And I suppose, but that's the thing. It really depends. It depends on whether you care about the intentions of the film or the results. Because looking at it, the intentions seem to be that you're kind of supposed to feel sorry for this thing, and you're supposed to relate a bit more to Ripley's maternal instincts for this creature. And then when they blow it out the airlock or whatever, you're supposed to kind of feel bad.
Yeah.
That seems to be the intentions.
Yeah.
But why is that the intention? Yeah. It completely undermines everything that's interesting about the xenomorphs. And just I think you could do pretty much 90% of that third act and just fucking have a regular alien.
Yeah.
And there will be no love lost there.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things, because I recently watched AVP, one of the things that Aliens vs Predator does is, because all of the aliens look alike, what it does is it puts one of the aliens in a fight with a predator and gives it a scar on its head, so you can then identify it as the smart one that can dodge the spears, dodge the bullets, and everything like that. You've got your boss fight right there.
Yeah.
Is the one that you can kind of understand who that is.
He's the big man. That's the one that we're going to end up with in the end.
And it really should have been the one that was with Brad Dourif against the glass. I'd have liked to have seen that one. I don't maybe lose an arm that got frozen or something.
Yeah.
Just to have him identifiable. The one that bringing him back.
Yeah, the one that decided that killing his mate to escape was a bang-up idea.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of idea that every xenomorph would have.
Exactly.
And to bring that back round would be a good idea. You know, even to see other aliens sacrificing themselves to get him to the forefront. You know, that could have worked. Defending the mother. defending the Queen. You know, and you know, I'm not even saying necessarily lose all that maternal instinct thing, because then you're talking about rewriting the entire movie. And I think that those moments where Ripley's going a bit mental, they play well a lot of the time. So you know, you can almost have this weird mother-son relationship thing, if that's what floats your boat, then keep that in. But there just really wasn't any need for them to exploit it the way that they did.
The way I would have liked that to have played out, happy for this hybrid to get born, but instead of it killing the alien queen, I would have liked every fucking other alien to descend on it and tear it apart. I think that would be way more savage, and I think that would have just got the point across way better.
Yeah.
Is if the original blueprint of this creature just fucking tore the new thing apart, and then we carried on with this boss alien.
Yeah.
I think that would have worked.
Yeah.
Although, the fact that it is in the film, it does give this film, out of the series, my 2 favourite kills in the series.
Okay.
Because when it gets sucked out of that window...
That is fucking awful.
It's horrendous, but that is a fucking awesome kill. That is slasher movie level stuff. When it gets pinned against what is basically a little window that's getting decompressed, and then it starts sucking his flesh out.
Yeah.
And then it can't suck his flesh out, so the flesh splits, and it starts sucking his insides out through the hole, and there's just this horrible skull left at the end with all his guts falling out. And it's like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Fucking Christ.
That was brutal.
Yeah.
That was brutal. And it actually didn't look that bad.
It's a good effect.
It is a good effect. They've done well. It's a good combination of CG and puppetry there that works really well.
Yeah.
And I think that plays well.
My other favourite kill is Hyperventilating Man, who plays Hyperventilating Man in Star Trek. He's a malfunctioning hologram in Voyager.
Okay.
In one of the later seasons, and he just kind of walks around the dark corridors hyperventilating. He was also in Seven as the guy that wears the thing to kill the prostitute.
Beautiful.
And he also just sits in a dark corner and hyperventilates. He does that really well, and he was in Enterprise recently, and he just sits in a dark corner and hyperventilates. And in this one, the moment you meet the character, he's got an alien inside him. He's one of the people that hasn't had one burst out of him yet. So all the way through, he's kind of going along with the crew. And there's these moments where he's like hyperventilating, doing his thing, and they think it's going to come out of him. But it doesn't come out of him until they're all on the ship, and the big honcho scientist turns up. And he shoots the guy, I think, in the chest, and then the guy's like, "No, you did this to me, I'm fucking fuming." And he offloads, like, he empties a clip into him, still comes at him, and then you get to see this scientist have the fuck kicked out of him. And it's one of the best scenes, I think, in the franchise. I think there's only like 6 or 7 seminal scenes, and it's one of my favourites, where he just holds his head to his chest, and when the alien comes out, it comes out his chest, it goes through the guy's head.
Yeah.
And then everyone on the boat just offloads guns into both of them, and it's like... That's fucking sick.
Yeah. Use what you've got, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and they even do that really 90s thing where they put the camera down his throat, and then it all goes to CG, and you can see the alien inside him, and then just boosh. It's fucking naughty.
Not a fan of that effect.
I mean, it's tacky as shit, but like at this point, you're on board with the film. Like, yeah,
it's
go
so
on.
Fast and Furious, mate.
Yeah. But like, before we started watching the film, again, one of these people who's got a rational opinion about these sequels said, "Well, it's a Jean-Pierre Jeunet film. Watch it like a dark comedy.
Yeah.
Treat it like a foreign film. Watch it like a dark comedy." I was like, okay, I'll give it a go, and I enjoyed it way more.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the silliness of it, the jokes, the gags, the ludicrousness of the gore and stuff. I thought, this is just a fun late 90s film.
This is the thing, isn't it? And it all comes back, and I think we'll round it off in this manner. All of these films are fine. The reason that people get so mad about them is because of their own hang-ups and their own preferences and the weight that they put on them as movies. I think there's nothing really wrong with any of them.
No.
Really. And people just need to shut up.
Pretty much, yeah. I'll round Resurrection off by saying that I've got to throw my weighting on the score for each one of these.
Yeah.
Not a very noticeable score, but it takes styling cues from the first one. It takes a lot of styling cues from the third one. Big gothic orchestra styles, there's some pipe organs in there. It's a spooky score, kind of like haunted house kind of spooky, and I do like that. I think it's got a classic score to it, which is a bit weird, quite lyrical, and it does this weird kind of sad violin bullshit when the alien hybrid's kicking about. But it's like, the rest of it's alright. The rest of it's okay. Nothing beats 3. But Resurrection is,
it's alright.
Yeah,
at least they're trying
50% of the work for me. So,
yeah.
I enjoy it. I think we should probably rank them in order of which is your favourite and which is your least favourite. Because we're not afraid to do that.
No.
We're not going to say that Aliens is the best, but, you should have read the book, you thick bastard. And I guarantee no one's read Dan O'Bannon's book of that apart from me.
Well, I think, controversially almost, given our discussion, I think Aliens still is up there for me. I think it just edges out Alien 3. I think if I'd watched them all in, ad nauseum to the many times that you had, I would maybe swing the other way. But as we were saying while I was changing cards, if I was going to go watch one of them right now, I'd go watch Aliens. And that might be because I don't remember it very well, which also says something about it. But for me, that is the kind of movie that I enjoy and that I'll sit and watch. And I think Alien 3 comes in a very close second because as a standalone movie, as we said, I think it worked perfectly. I think the characters in it are really likable. I think it's well done, for sure. Alien, I think I'm going to put in third. It's not a bad movie by any means, and I think it's a fantastic start to the franchise. I can absolutely see why people love it. And I think that having now introduced myself to it, I will see all of these movies many, many more times before I, lay on my deathbed. And I think I will continue to enjoy all of them in their own right.
I'll be sure I'm coming to the hospital, mate, with this VHS of Alien 3. Like, hey, mate, you want to watch Alien 3? No!
Charles Dance just about to die. But yeah, Alien is a great film. And I think it does hold up technically to still be a beautiful film now. I can see myself showing that film to my kids.
Yep, definitely.
And them not going, Dad, why are you showing me this old movie? Unless something drastically changes in the next, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And Resurrection, I think, doesn't deserve all the flack that it gets.
Nope.
It's still, for me, probably the weakest of the franchise because I feel like it does the most to upset the canon. You know what I mean?
And it does the most to shift summertime popcorn. That's what it's there for. It feels like that's what it's there for. That's fine though.
It was Fox needed to put a movie out and they still had Alien sat on the shelf. And
cash injection, mate.
Yeah, well, it was probably like Sony and Spider-Man, wasn't it? They've got to make an Alien franchise every now and then, otherwise it'll move on and they'll have to lose rights.
Sort of spot back to Ridley and Jesus Christ, we know what happens there, don't we?
Exactly. We've experienced it now. I am very interested to watch Prometheus and Covenant. I want to form my own opinions on them. But
we are going to do that in a thing.
We are going to do a follow-up video that's maybe not 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
So I think ranking-wise, I'm going to go Aliens, Alien 3, Alien, Resurrection.
Yep. I'm going to go from top to bottom. Alien 3, Aliens, Alien Resurrection.
Yeah.
Just swapping out them first two, basically. Yeah. I think so. So for next time on the Downgrade at the Movies, we're most likely, hopefully,
maybe
going to be looking at the Predator franchise.
Yes, I'm excited.
So that's Predator, obviously starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Jesse Ventura, all them big bastards in the jungle. Fantastic movie. And then over, man. Game over. If it bleeds, we can kill it.
No.
And then we're going to watch Predator 2, which I'm sure will upset even more fucking people there because Predator 2 is a more enjoyable movie. And that will hopefully lead us nicely onto AVP, the franchise, which will probably upset even more people.
Don't worry, mate. Nobody made it this far.
Mate.
If you did make it this far, please do leave a comment below letting us know because I'm genuinely interested in what the fuck you're still doing here.
We're open to criticism. I've been spat on way too many times, so...
Yeah, I mean...
Go for it.
Please do tell me why I'm wrong. Because I've got no hang-ups about any of these movies at all. So absolutely, please tell me where you think I'm coming from if I'm wrong. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Do subscribe to us on iTunes for this and other podcasts coming out, hopefully semi-regularly in the future.
Absolutely, and please do check out Sore Thumb Retro Games on the Facebook where we both work. Probably the only place in the UK that has a full selection stock of Laserdiscs.
Actual genuine Laserdiscs.
Yeah. With all your favourites. Brought to life in beautiful fuzzy vision, mate.
Glorious standard definition.
Textile vision or whatever you fucking called it.
It does, honestly, though. Doesn't it? It looks like textile, doesn't it? It looks like someone's taken a loose weave and put it over the movie.
Yes, we'll do like a Laserdisc Flaws episode at some point.
Yeah.
But it's going to cost about 350 quid for me to be able to get rid of those lines, so I'm not in a rush to
understandable, mate. Understandable. I don't even have RGB SCART cables on mine, so there we go.
Il presente, mate. That's Spanish for fucking peasant.
And just remember for next time, if there's no dogs, it's not dog.
Unless it comes out of an ox.